All right, here we go. This is the briefing for the week of December 13th. A look at what you missed from the headlines while you were stuck in SEER training. Let's pop our heads up. Underwater bullets? Is that possible? U.S. Special Operations Command this week said it is testing ammunition that can be fired underwater as a new kind of weapon for special operators. One of those bullets, created by DSG Technologies, is tipped with tungsten and creates a gas bubble that allows it to slice through the water at lethal speeds. No word yet on when Special Operations might field the super cavitating bullets, but we'll be on the lookout. Okay, over to Afghanistan. A-10 Thunderbolts were back in the skies over Marja recently. The Warthogs with the 303rd Expeditionary Fighter Squadron were in support of Afghan forces and U.S. Special Operations troops battling Taliban in the area. Afghan officials said 37 Taliban fighters were killed and more than 100 IEDs removed in operations to clear the area. Next, let's talk about football. The United States Military Academy at West Point has removed a motto from a flag used by the school's football team because of its connection to hate groups. The phrase "God forgives, brothers don't" was indicated on a skull and crossbones on the flag. The phrase has been linked with the Aryan Brotherhood, a white supremacist group. Turning to college ball, Army and Navy have unveiled throwback uniforms for their annual Gridiron Clash this Saturday. This year, Navy opted for a simplified gold and blue callback to the Annapolis squads of the 1960s, while Army picked a drab olive palette to honor the 1st Cavalry Division and the birth of air mobility in the Vietnam War. The two teams will meet for the 120th time on Saturday at 3 p.m. Eastern. Army has won the past 3 games in the matchup. Now down to Fort Bragg. An Army sergeant was recently convicted of conspiring to marry soldiers to immigrants in a scheme to gain cash and benefits for soldiers. In return, the immigrants would gain legal residency. The sham marriage ring was facilitated by a culinary specialist from the 3rd Expeditionary Command, who authorities said was taken down in a sting by an investigator posing as a potential wife. Now it's time for a new edition of Military Times Explains. In this edition of Military Times Explains, we learn about sitting volleyball, one of the sports included in the annual Invictus Games. Let's take a look.
My name is Staff Sergeant Kevin Green. I am an Air Force reservist. December 16, 2014, I lost my limb with a lady texting and driving. Volleyball came about when I first got into Air Force Wounded Warrior program, September 2018. At my first care event, that's when I got introduced to adaptive sports volleyball, sitting volleyball. The rules to the game is just like stand-up volleyball. You have 6 people on the court. Those positions remains the same of stand-up volleyball. The rules and scoring is still the same. We're doing a roll-in score, so every time the ball crosses the land on each side, each team gets the point. The biggest difference of adaptive volleyball is that you must strike the ball with one of your butt cheeks on the ground. So one of your cheeks just have to be on the ground when you strike the ball. That's the biggest difference. Yes, you can spike the ball in sitting volleyball. The hits are still the same, nothing changed. As an amputee, you will typically use your dominant foot that you have to push off to help you slide. Now, if you're a double amputee, you're using most of your shoulders, so your upper body and core is a big factor in how you move on the floor. Another thing that you're utilizing is your ankle, in a sense of just having that mobility and flexibility of your hamstrings, your ankles, because you are bending your knees at the net. Having like a 6'5" wingspan helps too a lot.
And let's go out this week on a high note. A National Guardsman out of Delaware has raised enough money to fly home a stray cat he adopted in Kabul, Afghanistan. Staff Sergeant Dan Brissy made friends with a cat he named Sully and put out an appeal for help to fly the feline home. He raised the money in 2 days. Any extra donations will go toward the shelter where Sully was kept, the only one of its kind in Afghanistan. Okay, that's it for this week on The Briefing. Check us out on all the social media places and get on the holiday shopping while you still have time. Thanks for watching.